tonight. I'm obviously Peter Vexelman. I got my great friend and partner, Ben Howerton, here tonight. And I'll tell you guys, this is going to be a very impactful hour in your real estate career. See, every once in a while, you come across things, situations, people, tools, resources that you could literally point back to and say, that made a difference. And guys, 20 years in the business, thousands of deals behind me, office buildings like this that we've been through in terms of our growth. I could tell you what we're about ready to launch tonight, what we're about ready to release to you guys is something that I just in 20 years, I can't tie this to another thing in terms of the impact, the growth, the upside potential, the money-making side that we're going to discuss to you that I've seen before. I mean, this is a product that we've been talking about here internally for many, many months. And this is a product that's been kind of on a drawing board here for many, many months. And this is a product that we have been fired up over for many, many months. You know, let's face it, 20-year career, there's been a lot of things I've done. There's been a lot of things I've released. And most of the things, they're more or less, see this, do this. But guys, I could tell you the excitement I had about what we're going to discuss with you tonight has been unchanged, unwavered. As a matter of fact, much more excited about it today than when we started talking about it months and months ago. I can tell you this is an absolutely revolutionizing app that we're going to demonstrate and show to you guys tonight. What this has the impact to do for you is something I clearly have never seen before. I have never been exposed to before. And I'll be honest with you, I'm just flat out excited to be part of this launch. And I'm flat out excited to be saying that, you know what? It's our deal. I mean, this is not something that we saw somewhere and tested something and did something, and now we're going to hand it to you. I mean, this is something that we painstakingly, and I promise you, and this guy will tell you, because he tells us every night, how painstaking this is taken. But I will tell you the reason it's been such a road for us, the reason we've gotten to this point, because we wanted to do it the right way. I mean, we literally put ourselves in the shoes of all you guys. We literally thought, let's take it from the point that someone like myself is at. How can I utilize an app to help me scale my business to the next level? And remember, next level for me is a lot higher than next level for a lot of people, thousands of deals. We've also taken this and put it together from a perspective. If I was just getting started today, if I was in real estate and I could wrap it all in one thing and I could package it all and put it into a smartphone, what would that look like? Like, what functionality would I want? What to-dos? How would I want to be able to interact with this app? What would I want it to be able to tell me? How accurate? I mean, what would I be able to want it to do? Let's say from a marketing side, from a content side, from a tracking side, from an evaluation side. I mean, we feel like we've gone through this thing and we put it together, taken it apart, putting it together, taking it apart. And guys, we feel like at this point we have an amazing, an extremely dynamic app that literally you could run your whole business from, but not only from a perspective of run it, but I'm talking about grow it. Now think about this here. Ben and I are sitting here in my office. It's a 10,000 square foot building. If we were sitting here during the day, you would see employees running back and forth. You'd see people coming in and out. If you go just around the corner here, you would see like postcards like this many postcards, boxes and boxes and boxes. If you go to the offices down the road, you would see schematics and how do you determine evaluation? If you talk to some of our people here, some negotiators, they have these files of follow-up. And so to operate a business at a high level, I'm going to tell you, you need something like this. I'm not talking about doing a deal every once in a while. I don't think any of you guys are in this business to do a deal every once in a while. I think everyone in this business wants to take it to the highest levels possible. And guess what? To take this business to the highest levels possible, you really do need this. You need incredible marketing. You got to be able to tell, how to evaluate stuff. You got to be able to track things. You got to be able to figure out what properties, to go after, what properties not to go after. You got to figure out who the heck even owns this stuff. Let me just tell you something. If you don't understand who and how to get a hold of owners and stuff like that, that of itself could be in a total, disaster. So you need all that. You got to be able to get, to interact with people. You got to be able to interact with team members. Guys, do you know we operate out of here, but we have team members all over the United States. You got to be able to interact with all this. So if you package it all under one umbrella, you put it all inside a smartphone, is it possible to just have this smartphone literally operate your business? Well, I can honestly say tonight, as we release our amazing app, it is absolutely possible. You don't need this anymore. You don't need 20 employees. You don't need to have incredible marketing that you have a whole office set up for. You don't need to have 20 different computers lined up to figure out what the values are or track things the way we used to track things manually. It is now possible through our deal-driven app to do it all, do it at a point and click. And the amazing thing is we are now ready to make it available to you guys. So I could sit here and I could tell you on and on and on, but I know none of you guys are here to listen to me. And you guys, this is the guy that you want to hear. Ben is not only the developer, Ben has been with us on a partnering angle here. Literally, I mean, we communicate, which is safe to say, almost on a daily basis, right?
Absolutely.
With somebody from our team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, literally what's taken us 20 years to get here, we have packaged with this guy over the last several months and brought it under one roof. So before I turn it over to Ben, I will tell you this. This is an incredible, revolutionary product. This is the way this industry is heading. If you look at all the big power players in this business, if you study the Zillows, the hedge funds and all this, it's a bunch of consolidation. It's all about doing something under one roof. It's about point and click. Guys, this is where the industry is heading. But no longer do you have to be a $3 billion hedge fund to be able to do it, or Zillow behind the doors, how they figure out all these valuations. Guys, the exact same technology these guys all have and utilize, we now have it. And most importantly, you have the ability to get it. So what Ben's going to do, he's going to demonstrate this product tonight. He's going to give you some incredible features. He's going to, we just said, just test drive this thing. He's going to test drive it for you. And I could tell you guys, if you understand anything about real estate, whether it's your first deal you're doing or whether it's your 100th deal you're doing, this is the app that you absolutely need to get you to the next level. So without further ado, and by the way, Ben and I got a long track history. We've been in one way or another doing things together for what, 10 years? Yeah. 10 plus years. This is the smartest dude I know. Okay. I've never heard of Ben say that about me, but this guy is literally a rocket scientist. But I could just tell you, it almost takes a rocket scientist to formulate something like this. This is not something you grab off the shelf. This is not something you go to internet and, I'll order a little bit here, load a little bit here, and put it all together. This is an amazing tool. And I could personally tell you, you need this tool. So Ben, take it away. Take it for a test drive. Show us what this thing's all about.
Let's do it, Pete. Amazing intro. I hope we can live up to it. He did mention we've been friends for a long time. I'm a technology guy on a small technology company. He's a real estate guy. We sat down, 9 months ago and brainstormed how we can work together. And what you're going to see today is what was born out of that meeting. As I mentioned, I'm not a real estate guy. So what these guys have done for the last 6 months is kind of give me a fire hose of information about how this business works, both at their level, their trainees level, and everywhere in between. We've packaged that into a software product, and that's what I'm going to demo for you tonight. I'm going to show you from start to finish, how to find properties, add them to a list, track those properties, start your entire investment cycle through this product. And what I'm showing you is version 1. So I hope you're excited at what you're going to see, but you're going to be more excited what you're going to see in the coming months. So without wasting any more time, let me dive into the demo. So, all righty, if I could get somebody in chat to confirm that you can see my browser. Actually, let me change browser. Sorry about that. I am a technology professional. There we go. I believe you're seeing the correct browser now. So some of you already have accounts set up. Some of you don't. I'm going to assume for this demo that you've got an account set up, and I'm going to go ahead and log into the Deal Driven app. Let me check chat really quick and just confirm that everybody's seeing my screen. No sound. That doesn't sound good. Is that a, okay, never mind. Bunch of confirmations. Okay, we're all set. So the first thing when you're going to see when you log into your brand new Deal Driven app is a list with no properties in it. So let me cover just the high levels of this screen, and then let's go off and find some properties, because that's what we're all interested in doing. So this, as I mentioned, is your property list. At the top, we're going to have a label that tells you which one of your lists you're looking at. You can have unlimited numbers of lists. And then you're going to see a button over here called Map. And that's where you're going to do your searching. You do all of your searching on the map. So let's go ahead and click over there and take a quick look at what that looks like. As you can imagine, it generates a map. Now, as Pete mentioned, this works on a smartphone, but it also works on your desktop just as well. And your data is everywhere. Every property that you find when you're driving for dollars is going to be there when you get home, when you log in on your desktop. So you never have to worry about that. I am doing this demo from a desktop, so this is what it'll look like when you're at home. So I can use this map, and I can navigate around manually, of course, if I happen to be in the area where I'm looking, or if I'm in my car, the map will, of course, center on your location. Or alternatively, I can use this search box here in the upper left-hand corner, and I can type in an area, a street name, or a physical address of a property. So let me show you how that works. Let's, I'm going to type in a street name. I'm not going to give you a full address yet. We'll go with Folk Creek Drive in Roswell, Georgia. And what the map will immediately do is drop a pin on that street, and then it will draw property lines of all the single-family and multifamily residences in that area. What I can do immediately is just start clicking on those properties to pull up information. As you can see, with one click, I was able to get the full address information of that piece of property. Both owners' names in this case, sometimes you get one, sometimes you get two. The valuation, which is a very good valuation. It's not like a Zillow valuation. It's based on comparables in the area. You also get the equity percentage, outstanding loan amount, and the last sale. And if you're interested in looking further, a second click on that same panel pulls up a much more detailed view of that property. All of the property characteristics that you'd want to know: beds, baths, heating, air conditioning type, garage, etc. Even more importantly, the financial information. Over and above the valuation and the equity and the last sale, you also get all the tax information, the year sold before that, the last year the tax was assessed, etc. You can scroll down a little farther and you get detailed ownership information, and most importantly, you get the owner's mailing address, which of course may or may not be the property. So that's what you're going to use to contact the owners of this property. And you get the details of the address down to the zip +4. So let's assume in this case, we're not interested in this property, but there's another property that we're interested in. I'll go ahead and type in that address here. Let's assume we're interested in 340 Folk Creek Drive. I'll type that into that text box, click on it. And again, I could just as easily do this on my mobile phone. Immediately drops a pin on that property, pulls up the same type of information. Let's drill in a little deeper. But in this case, let's assume that this is a property you want to pursue. Well, if you want to pursue a property, the first thing you want to do is add it to a list. So let's do that. I'm going to click this button right here, add to list. That's it, it's done. You're immediately presented with a few options. I can view the details of that property again, or I can get a photo, or I can add a photo from my smartphone, which we highly recommend you do. But for now, I'm just going to go look at the details of that property. So I click there, pulls into a much larger and easier to read view of all of the same details we looked at before when we pulled up that panel. Every one of these entries here is editable by you. So if you find updated information, or you decide you want to update the valuation based on an AVM you get from another source, you can certainly do that here. You can also review the ownership information. Since this does come from tax records, you may notice that first and last names are switched, or sometimes they're combined. So you might have to do a little bit of cleanup, because we have 154 million properties in this database from who knows how many different thousands of counties. So occasionally there will be some inconsistencies in the way this data is presented, but it's usually very easy to visualize. But down here in the bottom right-hand corner, we have a large text area called Notes. And this is where you're going to do your tracking. You and your team can keep track of the phone calls you've made, the property visits you've done, specific attributes about the property that, you know, may become more and more important as you proceed down the investment path. You can update all of that information here. And when you're done, you just simply click save. And just like before, that data is now on your smartphone. It's on your home machine. Your entire team has access to your updates. Make sure I'm not missing anything. We've got to go really fast here, so I want to cover a lot of the details.
Can you, Ben, really quickly just kind of go through some of these fields?
Yeah, sure. Just these are the most obvious high-level details of the house you want to know. Beds, baths, heating type, air conditioner type, whether it has a fireplace, garage, basement, building quality, that type of thing. The lot size in some cases, sewer information, whether it has a, you know, regular sewer, or, essentially everything you would expect to see on the tax record of a document or on a property. And then in the middle column, of course, is again, all that same financial information we looked at before, including the total outstanding loans, estimated equity. You can get the LTV, equity percentage. All those values are available to you automatically, instantly, as soon as you load the property. And let's go back to let's go over to the owner view, because that's important. This is another tab of details about the property. This is where the owners are broken out. And as I mentioned before, again, this comes from tax records. You may notice some inconsistencies occasionally in the name, and this is a good example of that. We've got a first name, Jason, last name, Richmond, comma, Jason. So what I'm gonna do, clearly, that's a combination of two names. I'm just gonna remove that and hit save. So now I've made this data better and more accurate for you. We can scroll down and look at all of the mortgage history on that property, even mortgages prior to the current homeowner. And then below that, we can look at phone numbers, mailing addresses, et cetera. You'll notice here that these are red. That's because once you add a property, you don't immediately get phone numbers. That's when you have to do what we call a skip trace. That's an incredibly vital step in this process, because this actually takes the property owner's mailing address information in combination with their name, and we use an industry-leading third-party provider that does a very detailed skip trace on that property. And I'll do that for you live here. Oops. I'm going to click this button right here called Instant Skip Trace, and it does exactly what its name implies. It says it's going to take 1 credit. Do you wish to proceed? I'll say yes. You'll get a spinner for a second, and then you'll notice, assuming we pick, yep, here we go. Instant Skip Trace found 3 phone numbers and 7 email addresses. That fast. So let's go take a look at those. We can span that. We see 3 numbers. We've got 2 mobiles and a landline. You might get a number that's been disconnected, or they might have multiple phone numbers, or different family members have phone numbers. So you get all sorts of numbers that you can then make phone calls to. If you find that a number is invalid and disconnected or not the actual property owners, you can select it and delete that number. Additionally, if you find out a property owner's number via some external source, you can add your own phone numbers by clicking this button here. That goes for email. Everything I just said also applies to email addresses. If you find that an email address is invalid or no longer applicable, you can remove it. You can also add your own. And in some cases, we'll actually find, and in this case we did, additional names for that homeowner, which you might want to use to do subsequent skip tracing, or send out different mailers. In this case, it came up with Jason Richmond and Richmond Jason. So again, that's a tax record thing. And additionally, we might find some of their social URLs. And in this case, it did. It found a LinkedIn profile for this person, which, use your own discretion at how you contact people through those means, but they may be useful in certain cases. Let's take a look at the next tab.
Let me just say something. This is why Ben was saying, he's the architect, the genius behind this, but I'm the real estate guy. So he's like flying this through the technical side.
We're very limited on time.
We are limited on time, but I just want to point 2 things that he's covered here that are just, I'm telling you, this is earth shattering. This is game changing. Number 1, Ben, spend just a minute talking about our evaluations. Because one of the things that we as investors constantly encounter is we're looking at a house, and the very first thing we're looking at is like, well, what's this thing worth? Is it worth 100 grand? Is it worth 500 grand? So if the ability to determine the worth of something and to do it right there in the spot, I'm telling you, that is something that you just cannot do with the tools that are out there. How accurate approximately is our stuff?
Well, we have 154 million properties, as I mentioned. The valuations are updated every single month, and they're updated based on sales in the area and comparables in the area. So they're really good. We're not saying you wouldn't want to ultimately get, an additional valuation, but they're much better than what you would call a Zillow valuation, which is just a rough estimate based on taxes.
So that's huge. What Ben's just saying is, again, Ben is just taking this from a very technical perspective, but let me just tell you something. That is a huge feature. We as investors sometimes spend like hours, literally hours, getting third-party people validating things. This tool, this is like first class, the ability to evaluate. The second tool that Ben just talked about, the skip tracing. And again, I don't want to deviate too much, but I will tell you, if you're a real estate investor in today's marketplace, if you want to find deals, you have to be able to skip trace. Simple as that. I mean, that is where all the action is. It's no longer at the first tier client, the owners that are easy to find, it's all at the second tier. So when just imagine you're driving by a property, so as so many of us as investors do, and you're looking at it, maybe because somebody told you it's for sale, maybe because you feel like this is a good property to go after, could be 30 reasons. And right away, you have the two most important things through this app. Number one, you know what the values are, right? So if it's a property that somebody's telling you they're selling it for 50 grand, and you look at the value, it's 200 grand, boom, right away. You don't have to think twice. You got something here, right? And what's the second thing you need? You got to be able to figure out who owns this, right? Dealing with third-party sources or dealing with non-owners, I'll tell you, it's a deal breaker. It's a time waster. So two most important things: what's something worth and who owns it? Right there, point and click. Sorry.
Well done, Peter. I like it. Okay, so and I do take certain things for granted because, again, I'm a technology guy, so it's great to have a real estate person right here to emphasize those things that are most important. Let's go to the next tab of information about this property. Now, let's assume you've done your evaluation, you've done your due diligence, and you want to proceed even further down the pathway with this particular property. That's when you can assign yourself or your teammates tasks to do. By default, when you add a property, we create 3 tasks for you. Visit the property, call the property owner, and prior to that, new property needs review. Those are just the 3 most basic things. That's kind of your initial vetting process. But then you can add all sorts of additional tasks, as you can see here. For example, I can, eventually add a task to make an offer, but I might add a task to schedule a meeting or send a direct mail, send a text message, etc. Those tasks appear on your timeline, which ultimately become to-dos on your calendar for that property. Each one of these tasks can be marked complete, snoozed for a day, a week, a month, or deleted. So you and your teammates can, keep track of your flow, and there's a certain level of accountability there, of course. You can have an unlimited number of tasks for a property. And I'm talking a little bit in the future here, but our plan is to expand this feature such that you and your organization can design your own set of tasks that you like to go through for every property. You might have a set of 5 things that you just always do. Build those into the system, and then those tasks will be created automatically every time you add a property.
So here's what Ben just said. This is the top way that real estate deals are done right there. This is what he said. He said in the tech terms, okay? But and for those of you that hear me and follow me, you hear me talk about negotiations all the time, right? It's all about negotiations, about getting the price down. But let me tell you, the ultimate secret about negotiations, it's not how good you are at the front end negotiations. It's how good you are at keeping track of everything. So here's what an average investor does. They're out in the street, they're talking to sellers, they're talking to realtors, and guess what? They're taking notes like on what are they called? Those yellow sheets of paper. They're putting them in everywhere. Maybe you're saying something into your phone, and then let me tell you something, it becomes a total mess. Again, think about it. You're driving, you identify the property, you immediately figure out who owns it, you immediately have the ability to find out what the values are. Then you have the ability to be able to create that ultimate way of making money. Schedule a time, right? Maybe you did get a hold of the owner right away, and the owner said, hey, I'm leaving for vacation. Are you going to remember that? I mean, I know you think you're going to remember that at that moment, right? Because most of us have 30 different ways we track things. Right here, same thing. Boom, you click a button, right? 7 days from now when he's back from vacation, hey, guess who? It's Pete. So this feature, this task feature, as Ben just called it, absolutely critical to your success.
I couldn't agree more. And that reminds me of a feature I should show you very quickly since we were just talking about it. I did mention the notes before, but let's say you're out on the road, you look at a property, you type some notes like seller was home or some such. I type tonight, I'll hit save. Back home when you log in, you or your teammates pull up your property list, which I'll do right here. You're going to see that note immediately right there with the list. So you can imagine that would be super helpful as you're building tens, hundreds, or dozens of properties. You want to quickly eyeball those lists and view the notes, your progress. And while we're here, let me show you a couple other features and things you can do while you're looking at your list of properties. If you recall a minute ago, we did a skip trace and we got 3 phone numbers and 7 emails. Well, maybe I want to make some phone calls or send some text messages right from my smartphone. I can do that here. I simply tap this drop down and choose what I want to do. If I want to call this number, I'm on a desktop here. It's a Mac, so it's going to open up FaceTime. But if I were on my iPhone or my Android, it would dial the number. If I click text, it's going to pre-compose a text. It says, hey, I was driving by, I saw your property at insert address here. I'd like to make you an offer. You can customize that text message, but we have a couple pre-populated ones for you. You can immediately hit send on your phone and that text goes out with a single click. Same with email. If I want to shoot an email, I can write from my smartphone. I can select an email, click that button, opens up your email program, type in your message and hit send. So we make it as easy as possible. Also, the skip trace functionality that I showed you when I was in the detail, you could also do from the list. So you could select multiple properties at a time and skip trace more than one. The other thing you can do, let me do a quick example here. Let me go back and add another couple of properties. If nothing else, I'm illustrating.
While he's adding, let me just tell you what he just said. Efficiency and effectiveness. See, the thing in real estate, it's a numbers game to a certain degree. You got to be quick on your feet. You got to be able to respond quickly. When the worst things you see, and you hear it all the time, and you might be part of this, that paralysis of analysis, right? People 30 different ways of trying to do something confusing. You're out in the street. You got 50 properties you want to look at. You see what just Ben showed you? Point, click, email, text, call, evaluate, owner, everything.
Absolutely. And also we want you to be able to operate at scale. And that's, Pete mentioned that I've said it's been painstaking. It has, but it's been a labor of love because honestly, I love building software for people. But what I love even more is seeing you guys scale with it. And let me show you an example. Let's say I've got a big list here. I can perform tasks on all those items at the same time or more than one at a time. I can go in, for example, and let's say, set all of these to the marketing status because I know they all are. I can do that with a single click and then immediately they're marked as marketing. And somebody else can then subsequently go in and look at only properties that are in marketing, for example. So we're trying to make things as easy for you as possible to scale. There's several other actions you can do here. I can export my list if I want to import it in a Mojo Dialer or any other third-party system. It exports to an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV. I can add them to additional lists, which is a feature I'm going to touch on in a moment. I'm going to skip it for now. Or of course I can delete properties if I've just ultimately decided that I don't want to pursue that property any further. So since I did mention it, let me talk about list management. Out of the box, we have one list and it's called all properties. That's where all your properties go. But you're going to quickly learn as you add more and more properties that you're going to want to organize them in different ways. Completely up to you how you do it. What I've done here as an example is I've created two additional lists, one called hot leads and one called driving for dollars. You can create anything you want. But let's say, for example, 77 Lakeland Drive is what I'm considering a hot lead. I can simply check it, click actions, add to list, hot leads. And then later I can go into my hot leads list and I'll see that property isolated from all the others. So this is a great way if you have, say, for example, you've got a set of people driving for dollars for you, you can create a list based on their name. They can add all their properties there. You might want to create a list for vacant homes, that type of thing. So you can have as many lists as you want. You can organize your properties in any way you want. And by the way, just because a property is in one list doesn't mean it can't be in others as well. It might be a hot lead that you got from driving for dollars, for example. So it's completely up to you how you choose to organize your lists, organize your properties. So I talked about updates. I talked about phone number. I do want to show you a couple other quick features here on the list. And then I definitely want to leave some time at the end for some questions. But as you start building up your list, you're going to want to do things like sort. For example, right now I've got it sorted so the most recently updated properties at the top, which is kind of useful. If somebody's adding notes, then that kind of implies that that property's hot at the moment. You might want it to bubble to the top. But I might want to sort by something else. So I can go over here and I can sort by valuation, for example. I want to see my highest or lowest valuation properties first. I can sort by equity percentage or the date added. Just because I updated it, maybe I don't want it to bubble up to the top. So you have complete flexibility there. You can also filter your list by any of these statuses, and in a very soon to be future version, we're going to allow you to add your own statuses. So if in your business model, there are other statuses that make sense to you, add them, attach them to your properties, and then you can filter them. So I could quickly go in and say, let me see all of my properties that currently have an outstanding offer, for example. That's what that's useful for. And lastly, I can also go to a simple search here. If I've got 100 properties and I want to zero in on all of them that are on Carlin Drive, I can just type part of that address and it'll immediately filter down to that. So also want to talk about a couple of the features that apply when you're driving around. And I did mention earlier that the map on your smartphone will automatically center on your current location. Of course, you can pan around and adjust it. But we also have what we call a point and click feature, and it's really the third way to add properties. If you're on an iPhone, you can actually literally point your phone at a property and click the point and click button, which will appear only on your phone. It looks like a little eyeball. And what we do is we just look out about 150 yards and we pick the property that's right in front of you. I'm not saying that's the best way to add a property, but it's a great way to add a property if you, well, not if you're driving, but if you're in the passenger seat in a vehicle moving by, you can quickly snap properties as you go by. Then you can look at them when you get home and kind of call through and say, okay, this one's something I'm interested in and the next one's not. On another near-term roadmap feature we're going to add is driving tracking, where we're going to track all of the routes that you've driven, so you can automatically tell if you've already driven that route and how long ago. You might want to circle back 6 months later. And we're also going to add an auto grab feature. That isn't the final name, but you can kind of understand the concept. Let's say I'm interested in homes with a loan to value greater than 40% or equity percentage greater than 40%. Within a certain price range with a certain bed bath. I can put in that filter, hit collect, and then just start driving through a neighborhood, and it will grab properties as you pass by that meet your criteria, add them to a special list. Then you get home on your desktop and you look at those properties and you evaluate if any of them are something you're interested in. Or maybe that's something you want to have 3 or 4 people driving for you just doing nothing but canvassing an area, adding properties. We don't put any reasonably small limits at all on the numbers of properties you add. So you could literally collect thousands, just as much as you want to go through and take the time to cull. It's completely up to you. A couple other features I want to show you on the map. As you add properties, you'll notice here, they always appear on your map when you go back to that area. So it's very easy for you to see the properties that you've already added within a certain area. And the color of those properties reflects where they are in the process. Green means brand new property, nothing happening with it yet. There are different colors, and we'll actually put a legend here on the map. As you proceed down your workflow toward making an offer, those colors will change so you can get a quick eyeball view. Another feature of the map that I like is, let's say 340 Faux Creek. I don't remember where that is. I can simply check it, click over to the map, and the map will zero in on it right there and immediately pop up an information window to quickly tell you, again, the valuation, equity, and the current status. I'm marketing to that. And if I want to zoom back to view details, I can click that as well. So we want this to be a really quick way for you to get a bird's eye view, but we also want you to be able to snap back and forth between the map and the list, which you'll find yourself doing all the time as quickly as possible. So before we take questions, I'm going to show you a couple of the other maybe less exciting features, but also important. Of course, you'll always have your account. This is where you can go in, update your contact information as you build your team, add your payment information for skip tracing, that type of thing. Silly feature, but you can, of course, change the theme. We have a technical support tab that we are actively building. And I'll have to admit, we've been so focused on building this great product. We've been lacking on videos to support you guys. We are building those like crazy. In fact, the genius behind the camera here is helping me do that. We're going to have all sorts of videos for you guys that will appear here in this technical support area. We're going to cover every topic. Every time we add a new feature, we're going to create a new video about it. So you won't be left in the dark there. And for any of you that already use the product, you know that you can always go to this What's New tab to see all the new features. And I will tell you, we release features quite often. As you can see, this is all just since September 3rd. and you can expect that to continue. We've got a really crazy, aggressive roadmap plan for this product. So I'm going to check my list really quick and see if there's any major features.
And while Ben's checking his list, let me explain to you what you guys are seeing here. See, real estate is nothing more than a series of steps. Obviously it starts where, you pick a market, you do some marketing, you negotiate, you keep track of the owners, you create a file, maybe you do some inspections, but this is it. And this is why this is such a difficult business, because these different tasks, these different steps along the way of this deal require different skill sets, require a lot of coordination. And let me tell you something, they're all very important, meaning you can't just start screwing task A up, well, I missed my evaluation by 200 grand, but who cares? I'll figure it out somewhere else. You know what I mean? It's a very unforgiving business. And so what you see here in our deal-driven app is literally all of those steps put into right here. And so this is literally how you're going to be running your op. You have to do everything that Ben is showing you here. And let me tell you something, he's done a very just a top-down view here. There's a lot more behind the scenes that he hasn't even hit on, and there's a lot more coming, was way more coming up here in a very short near future than we're releasing right now.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that next.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Why don't you hit that? But my point is this, what you have here in this app is literally everything you need to walk through deal upon deal upon deal. And by the way, guys, we're going to show you how you could test drive this app here with no obligation whatsoever here shortly. So stay tuned.
Absolutely. He touched on our roadmap, and I did mention we have an aggressive one, and it's really exciting. So I want to talk to you about 3 major new features that are being developed as we speak and will be released very soon. The first is direct mail campaigns. We're going to interface with Yellow Letter HQ and possibly some other third-party direct mail systems, which will allow you directly from this tool to initiate campaigns. You'll pick a property or properties. You'll make sure that the mailing address looks correct. You'll pick a template or a set of templates, and you'll hit go. And those campaigns will be emailed for you automatically. You'll get feedback as to which ones were delivered, all straight from this product, literally from your smartphone or from your desktop. So we're super excited about that one. Another feature that I'm probably even more excited about is a much more detailed property search. What I've shown you so far is one at a time. Enter a property address or click on a property. But how about building a list of properties based on a certain set of parameters? Like I want to, again, the example I gave earlier where I want a certain loan to value, or I want a certain equity percentage, attributes of the property. I want vacant homes and or pre-foreclosure homes. Hit search. We go out to our 154 million properties and build a list for you. And then that list becomes part of your list. And then you go through and you call that list and you decide which ones you want to skip trace and you start marketing campaigns. So I know it sounds great having it automatically grab properties as you're driving around, which I do think there's huge value in that. But this, you don't even have to drive around. You're just building lists, and there's huge value in being able to build those lists. So that's a feature we're creating very soon. We're going to have mechanisms in place that allow you to skip trace those in bulk in a much faster way instead of one at a time. But that's a feature we're super excited about. And the last one is our contacts list. As you can imagine, as you add more and more properties, you're going to build up lists, contacts of owners. And a lot of times there'll be overlap. You might find an owner that owns a whole bunch of properties. Well, this system's going to help you identify that. And as you find that contact, we'll keep track of which properties they own. So when you're contacting them, you can contact them about the correct property, or maybe you find an owner who just wants to sell 10. You might get lucky. This system's going to, help you build that list of contacts. That's also what you'll use to do direct mail campaigns. You may decide to email people, not even about a specific property, if you just happen to know that they're a property owner. So that's what our contact list will do. We've got some other features even farther down the road than that, but I'm not going to talk about those tonight because we've got enough right now. And I'd like to take some time for questions. Rafa said he would be monitoring the chat for questions, or I'm perfectly happy with people unmuting themselves. Rafa, which would you prefer in that case? Just want to make sure we have time.
Hey guys, Rafa here. And so we've been monitoring the chat window. There's been a lot of activity. Ben, Peter, you guys, you would love to see all the activity that's been on this chat window. People are super excited about this app and all the incredible functionality that you've put in there yet. And guys, you've done such a good job that there's not a lot of, there hasn't been any questions yet. So let's go ahead and open up the chat bot for the chat area questions, guys. In a webinar, we don't have the ability for everyone to unmute themselves, Ben.
Gotcha.
We'll have to receive it via chat. One thing that I'd like to add, I've absolutely loved being able to be part of this, the community that's been building this app from the ground up. It's absolutely incredible. And we've been so blessed to have our partners at Partner Driven that have been using this app for the last couple of months, helping us really fine tune the functionality that makes it so easy to use, which has been absolutely awesome. And so one of the questions that's come up so far, Ben, and we saw this come up a lot when we were in our community as well, is this app on the App Store? And if you don't mind, I can answer that for us and move forward with that. So the app today, guys, it's actually a web-hosted app, which means that the same URL that you go to on your desktop, like Ben has been showing today, works on your phone exactly the same. It's actually optimized to work on the phone. And there's some additional functionality, like Ben mentioned, like the ability to contact people directly from within the the phone that, you know, the mobile has advantage over desktop. With that said, there's no need to download an app from the Apple App Store or what, you know, as you're used to, like normally someone says app, oh, you have to download this thing on your computer and you have to, or your phone, and you have to update it every so often so that it actually works. We've taken all that stuff out, right? We've taken the middleman out, and as we're developing this tool and continuing to add awesome functionality, we're keeping it as a web app for your ease of use. So tonight, here shortly, I think we're going to be giving you guys access to it today. All you're going to have to do either on your phone or your desktop is go through the sign up process. You'll be there right there. There's no downloading that is necessary. Ben, did I answer that question okay?
Yeah, you did an excellent job, and that's true. We decided to build it as a mobile web application just because we can build it, frankly, much faster. We can iterate and add features much faster rather than being kind of hamstrung by the multiple app stores you have to deal with. I think you'll find when you use it on a modern smartphone that it feels very, very similar to an app that you would have downloaded from the App Store. You're just going to use your browser. Having said that, our plan down the road is to, of course, build native apps that work exactly the same way, but we want to finalize the functionality and finish our iteration process before we do that. So there you go. So yeah, I have seen a couple questions about importing your current lists. That is on our very near-term roadmap. In fact, the functionality is there. We just haven't exposed it through the interface, where you'll be able to take your existing list that you may have a spreadsheet, import them into a new list in this system, and then forget the spreadsheet forever, assuming you'd like to. Thank you, Kenneth. Good to hear that. And regarding you know, there's going to be occasional valuations that are off. It could mean that there's not a lot of sales in that area. The comparables aren't necessarily all that accurate. It's going to vary county by county. I mean, we have, you know, literally 150 million properties. So occasionally you're going to get some that are squirrely, but on average, they're much more accurate than you would get from a lot of other sources without going directly to a realtor. Let's see.
And Ben, as you're answering the questions that you're reading, make sure to read them out again, because some of the questions say only to the panelists. So not everyone was able to read those questions.
Did not notice that. Thank you. Good point. So let's see. I have scrolling back here. Not seeing any questions up top. Let me know if I missed any.
And by the way, while Ben is kind enough to stay on here and answer your guys' questions, let me tell you, well, first of all, obviously, if you're a partner of ours already, you know who you are. This comes as part of you being a partner. But for the rest of the world, we want to give you literally a free test drive. I mean, we feel so confident in this. And by the way, guys, we got about 200 beta users of it. And the reason we feel confident in it is we've seen what these people have done with it, and the usage of this app has been over the top. So to have an absolutely no obligation test drive, free test drive, just go to www.dealdriven.com. There you could sign up for a 14-day free trial. If you don't love it, hey, no obligation, no harm, no foul. You don't owe us anything. If you do love it, and you mark my words from a guy that's done this for as many years as I have, you will love it, then it's simply $49.95 a month to month, no obligation beyond the initial sign up. So www.dealdriven.com, 14-day free trial. If you love it afterwards, then it's just $49.95 a month. You guys will absolutely, positively love it. Guys, I'm telling you, this is the way things are going to be done. I mean, I've been in this thing long enough. I understand the trends. I got all the people that are kind of what I would feel like are ahead of the market. And this is where the future is. And not only is this where the future is, it just makes your life so much easier. I mean, if you're going to be serious about the business, would you not want to have all the tools wrapped in under one? I mean, you're going to need all these tools. You're going to need to know how to evaluate. You're going to need to know how to get in contact with the owners. You're going to need to know how to send direct mail out. You're going to need to know how to discuss things with your team. You're going to be able to have a team. You're going to have a CRM, because guess what? If you're working on one deal, yeah, you're right. You could do a little sticky note and save it. But nobody's on this thing to do it for one deal. So really in a short period of time, you're going to need to invest into some kind of a CRM system. And then you got to think about how do you bring it all together, right? How do you bring it all together? You know, what if your CRM says you have to call somebody tomorrow? Does that mean you have to now go to 30 other things in those files to make changes? Or let's say the owner gets a hold of you. Let's say you got to send a text message. Guys, it's just an ease of use. We get in this thing for a lifestyle, right? We get in it to make money. We get into it to have a lifestyle. And this is not only a money-making tool, this is a lifestyle tool. So www.dealdriven.com. Guys, it's the way things are going towards in this business. Be on the forefront. Take advantage of it. What else you got, Ben?
Johnny D, you asked a question. What does it mean when the app shows zero valuation and zero equity? That just means we couldn't get information for either that county or that particular area of the county. There are certain areas where we don't have full coverage on things like valuations, but we have in the high 90% coverage across the country. We also get new numbers every single month, and we're constantly updating those. So you might see a valuation next month. But that's a scenario where you might want to use somebody else to independently give you a valuation and then just go in and update your data and proceed from there. Let's see. JD Matthew says, if it's telling you invite required, just go to dealdriven.com and there should be a link, try for 14 free days. If you click that link, it should take you directly to the trial link. If you're not seeing that, shoot an email to support@dealdriven.com and we'll get you set up right away. That should not be doing that. I see several other people who have already signed up, so it seems to be working just fine. You are welcome, Shane Ray. Happy to do it. Let's see, I might have missed a couple other questions here. Yeah, I see a couple people saying they're saying invite required. So just make sure you're going directly to dealdriven.com and clicking that trial link. Let's see. Regarding adding a team member, that's actually a feature that we're getting ready to release. You won't see it if you sign up tonight, but you'll see it very soon. All right, I missed any other questions, Rafa?
No, I think that covers it.
Awesome.
This is amazing. I'm so excited because one of the things that we've discovered in our community is that it's the people, it's the partners that go leverage their world around them. It's the people that go out and find the deals that are right in front of them, right? That experience the quickest and fastest success. And it's challenging without this kind of technology to be able to see what's actually all around you. With the app, you have the ability to start from the epicenter of your own home, exactly where you live, and start looking around and start opening up and begin to study and learn the areas, find contact information is absolutely amazing. And I think that the feature that I'm most excited about, Ben, is the ability to turn on the app while we're on a drive. I mean, how often do we travel to a family member's house or a friend's house? And these are areas that are in our backyards, right? And to be able to, as we drive, automatically capture the properties that fit our filters. It's automated driving for dollars, which is absolutely the coolest thing that I have heard in the real estate space all year, all the last 5 years, all last 10 years. And I want to congratulate you, Ben, for doing this work, and Peter as well. This is awesome.
It's been fun.
Yeah, this is great stuff, guys. Dealdriven.com. Go take it for a test drive. Literally, we absolutely know that you love it, guys. Well, unless you got anything else, Ben.
I was going to say, we love feedback. Shoot us a note. The good, the bad, the ugly, suggestions, anything you love or dislike, just let us know. We'd love it. We eat it up and let us surprise you.
Thanks, guys. We enjoyed it. Totally enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.